Carrie Brown from empowerednurses.org, and I'm super excited to be here with my special guest today. This is Beth Hawks, Nurse Beth, affectionately known on AllNurses.com, the career advisor, as well as Nurse Beth from thenursecode.com. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you. Hi, it's great to be here.
Beth and I met up, we met a couple years ago, but we are in Las Vegas right now for the National Nurses in Business Association.
Right.
And since we both write for allnurses.com, we thought we'd get online and just share with you guys some things that we're up to and give you guys some value while we're here. So Beth, let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have a blog, nursecode.com, and I also work for All Nurses, and I'm their career columnist. So if you go to All Nurses and then click on career, you'll see a picture of me, my face, and that's where people can write in and ask their own career questions, and then I pretty much answer them all, and then a certain percentage of them do get published and posted. So yeah, I very much enjoy doing that, and I have a lot of side hustles as well.
Yep, she's got an amazing blog at nursecode.com, which is awesome as well, and she's written a book. You want to tell me about your book?
My book is called Your Last Nursing Class, How to Land Your First Nursing Job. And it's written for really any nurse. I was targeting new grads that are struggling in a competitive environment to get hired. But the principles are really for any nurse looking for a job. So this gives actionable, practical information from an insider's point of view. And I'm saying insider because I spent many years as a hiring nurse managers, and I'm still involved with hiring and coaching and onboarding new nurses in our in my regular day job.
Yeah, aside from writing her blog and writing for All Nurses and writing a book and you name it, she's got
correct.
A full-time job.
Yeah, and I work a lot with new nurses in our residency program. So I see who gets hired and who doesn't, and I know why, and I want to tell them that.
Yeah.
I want to help them to stand out, and I put all that into my book.
Sorry about the noise.
To tell people how to stand out in their cover letter, in their resume, what questions they can anticipate. I guarantee you I can tell you the questions that will be asked, and I can tell you the answers that they're looking for, which you may not know.
So is it something you can help nurses maybe who are on probation or have a blemish in their past as well?
Absolutely, because how to answer those kind of questions. Tell us about your gap in employment. You can tell them that, whenever you're faced with a kind of a question that could be perceived as a negative, or that you're concerned about answering. So an example of how to answer that would be, for instance, a lot of people will write to me and say, I was taking care of a family member, I chose to stay off work when I had small children, but I want to go back, and I'm concerned about how that looks on the resume. So what you want to do whenever you answer something that could be negative is give a brief answer, such as, there were medical issues that I was tending to at that time, but move on quickly to the positives. Then you would say, but they're completely resolved now, and I'm really looking forward and eager to getting back into the workforce. And then you start to talk about the positive again. So you spend very little time on the actual negative itself. And you notice when I said my sentence, I had some medical issues for a while, and they're completely resolved now. I didn't use any negative words, so you yourself avoid using negative words such as gap in employment, such as fired. You phrase things in a positive manner.
That's great advice. I always say is bury the bad in the middle of all the good.
I love that. Bury the bad and surround it with good. Yeah.
So Beth, let me ask you, nurses who have been fired, how should they deal with that in an interview?
Okay, that's a good question. It's probably not going to be asked that way. It may be asked as a short tenure, because typically it may just be that you're going to tell them your dates of employment. So if you're employed somewhere for say 5 months, you're going to put that on your resume, because whatever they ask you on the application, you do have to answer. But typically it's dates of employment, and it's not very common to be asked, were you fired?
Well, it says reason for leaving.
Okay, reason for leaving was not a good fit.
Yeah.
Simply that's typically good enough, it wasn't a good fit. Employers understand that. We have a society where people move from job to job quite a bit. Now,
Yeah.
you don't want to have that be your pattern. Then you have more of a problem. So, first of all, to avoid the problem, you do want to have be able to show a good work history, stay where you're at for a year to two. Always good to have a job before you leave.
Yeah.
But for those people that find themselves in a position for whatever reason, they're not employed, they weren't employed very long, they do have to be prepared to answer that. And one of the best ways is a good fit, because it wasn't a good fit, because you never want to cast any negative aspersions on a previous employer whatsoever.
Right.
Even
That's
if you
really
were
important.
in a very toxic work situation that is better for you not to be in, and there are some of those, we all know.
Yeah.
And there was absolutely nothing you did or could have done to make it better. You never want to say anything negative about your previous employer.
Yeah. Yeah, I apologize for the noise. There are 300 nurses here at the National Nurses in Business Association, and they're hungry. They're about ready to go to lunch. So what other tips do you have for our viewers here on careers?
In terms of...
Well, I always say, like, you had introduced it, that it used to be that you'd get a job for life. It was that, you would be, like, work for GM or whoever, and you would stay there forever. But that's just not the way it is anymore. And employers understand that nurses move around for better opportunities.
Exactly, and I think the onus is on employers to improve retention. Because nurses, especially now, we're talking to a nurse who's had at least, say, 2 years experience now. You are really marketable. I'm talking about 2 years in acute care. That's kind of my background. So you are like gold at 2 years. You are marketable, and the onus, I feel, is on the employer to retain you, because now you can take your skills and your knowledge anywhere. I see new grads who start out have a hard time maybe competing for that new job, which I help them with, how to make themselves stand out. But after a short 1 to 2 years, they can go to wherever they like. The Bay Area in San Francisco, large, San Diego. They're that nurse that has 2 years experience, and more power to them. More power to them, I say.
And I understand your hospital has a nurse residency program?
We do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you find one of those? I think that's the best thing ever.
Right, talking to our nurses who are going to graduate soon. Now, you're eligible for a residency program if you typically graduated within the last year. So you have a year. I call it a window. The clock is ticking. Mm-hmm. And you also, usually they want you to not have been employed already. Or some of them may stipulate not employed in acute care. So that's your window of opportunity. After a year, you no longer are going to be eligible often for a residency program. I keep saying often or usually because every hospital can set their own. They can make excuses, not excuses, but exemptions if they want. If you're a special person, there's always, the exception to the rule. And they can, it's not a law, it's just something every hospital decides, but that's the usual. Very desirable to get yourself into a nurse residency program. It's really, something that I thought about many, many years ago, that nurses, there's a gap between school and practice, and the residency program helps to fill that. It offers you supportive elements and during your first 6 months to a year of onboarding, much like a medical model. And it's really needed.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I see, like, the biggest area in my practice where I see nurses getting into trouble is the new nurses or the older nurses that take the shortcuts. So that seems to be
really
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, so if this nurse residency program can avoid some of these issues, that'd be awesome.
They definitely, I think they do. They prepare you, they offer you support. You can't be on your own in 2 to 3 weeks as a new grad. And employers that offer you that, you really want to look at that twice, because that's not going to be enough support for you.
Yeah. So again, it's important to find the right place to land in the first place. Don't just take anything. Find the right fit for you where you're going to be successful, because these first few years of nursing are so important to you getting your nursing legs under you.
You're building the foundation.
Yeah. And I know as a new nurse, I had an issue, and I've talked about it before, and it was really difficult. And, you know, had I been better prepared, it may have helped me. Anyways, you can see Nurse Beth on AllNurses.com under the career section, and feel free to write in any question. Like Beth said, she's very generous and will answer any questions about careers. And then you can also find her on her blog as well, thenursecode.com, and her book is available on
Amazon.
Well,
Called Your Last Nursing Class, How to Land Your First Nursing Job.
and it's not just for your first job, any job. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Beth.